What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin from Kevin's Corner, where I try to make some sense out of nonsense. And guys, I'm going to be doing a new series addressing something that you've been hearing going around in the news, especially in the mainstream media and liberal commentators concerning Donald Trump and his policies. They talk about Agenda 47, which is supposed to be this far-right extremist, Nazi type agenda that's going to justify them saying that Donald Trump is saying it out in the open. He's a dictator. He's a tyrant. He's going to go ahead and take over the country, and these are the things he's going to do. Well, without a person actually going to Donald Trump's page and reading about these or hearing it from the horse's mouth, you might buy into the propaganda. So during this series, we're going to attempt to actually hear what Donald Trump is saying about each one of these agendas and see if they make sense to you. See if they actually fall into the category of a dictator or all of the things you're hearing come out of the media in regards to Agenda 47. Now, the goal of this is to do several things. One, we want to be able to focus on policies and not personalities. So in other words, when people look at what Trump is saying about a particular policy, you got to abstract his personality from it and say, well, what about the merits? What is he saying? And how does this apply to my life? And does it make sense? Or am I blinded by the interpretation and the spin that maybe people who don't like Trump or want to see Trump lose is telling you it is? And two, we want to bypass the media's narratives, motives, and propaganda. I know by now, unless you've been under a rock, you have to understand that the media has an agenda. And the only way you're going to really get the clear understanding of what Trump's policies are and what they're going to do is to get it from him and not have it synthesized through the media, because they're not going to tell you the actual policy. They want you to get focused on his personality. They want you to go ahead and buy into whatever spin they put on it or their interpretation of the policy. Number three, we want to make sure that we determine whether these policies are good for you. So instead of listening to them sit back and say, well, Trump said something about the border and all these illegal immigrants, and he's going to send them back to their country, and that's radical and it's racist and it's motivated by Hitler language. Well, you might think differently if you were someone up in Chicago where they're flooding illegal immigrants into your city. See, so it becomes relative. You can't bypass what Trump is saying if you can't hear it from him and say, wow, does this make sense? Is this going to benefit me? That's your first priority. Vote for things that actually benefit you, not the people who are trying to sway you away from his policies or the policy. The policy should always override the personality. And number four, we want to make sure we determine, are the policies good for the country? So it's not just about you. Once it touches home and you say, yeah, this right here benefits me, or this might increase my pockets, or this might whatever, then the next thing you should be thinking about is, how does this benefit my fellow American? Does this make America strong as a whole? When you start talking about things like trade, when you start talking about importing and foreign policies and education, all of these things benefit the country if they're done correctly, if the policies are good. But if they're not, it hurts the country as a whole. So after you get finished evaluating, does the policy help me? Then start looking outwardly. Does it benefit or help the country? Number five, we want to make sure we decide whether the policies are rooted in tyranny, corruption, or evil. So you all been hearing through the media that Agenda 47 is rooted in Nazism, evil, tyranny, and all of that. Well, let's go ahead and break that down so you can conclude firsthand whether these things fit the description of tyranny, evil, Nazism, and all the other stuff that the media has been saying. So with no further ado, let's deal with the first policy, which is what? President Donald J. Trump declares war on the cartels. What's going on, America? Welcome to Kevin's Corner, where I try to make some sense out of nonsense. Before we get into this video, I need y'all to do me a favor. Hit that like button, share my videos. Please make sure you subscribe. Make sure your notification buttons are turned on to all. Subscribe to my alternative channel, just in case YouTube give me the slip or something. You'll know how to find me. Don't forget to check me out with all the podcasts and follow me on Rumble in the Jungle. All the links are listed below. If you want to donate to my channel, feel free. Those links are below as well. Now, with no further ado,
welcome to my party, we're just getting started.
Fentanyl, heroin, meth, and other lethal drugs are pouring across our wide open border, stealing hundreds of thousands of beautiful American lives, and it's happening like never before in our history. Children are being left without parents, families are being ripped apart, communities are being decimated. Our neighbors and fellow citizens are having their entire worlds destroyed like nobody thought possible. Our country is being poisoned from within by the drugs and by all of the other crime that's taking place. The drug cartels are waging war in America, and it's now time for America to wage war on the cartels. In this war, Joe Biden has sided against the United States and with the cartels. They are making more money than they've ever made before, times 10.
What did you hear from this so far? What I'm hearing is nothing more than a fact. Now, if you're trying to be objective and you really want to know what his policy is, as you listen to that first part, you can't argue that. Fentanyl is a danger to our country. It is killing many American citizens. The cartel is making money. So now you have to draw your conclusions based on whether what he's saying is an actual problem and if it is an actual fact, which that is. So if it is a problem, then my question is, how would Trump solve this? Let's look at the policy he has to address this obvious problem.
There's never been anything like it. They're major companies. They're bigger than even some of our biggest companies. Biden's open border policies are a deadly betrayal of our nation. When I am president, it will be the policy of the United States to take down the cartels, just as we took down ISIS and the ISIS caliphate, and just as, unlike the situation we're in today, we had a very strong border, the strongest border, in fact, in the history of our country.
Up until now, have you heard anything that is, number one, untrue, anything rooted in racism? I mean, the cartel is evil. Unless you think the cartel is good, or us declaring war on the cartel would be unjust, or it might be rooted in some type of evil or racism, then how could you disagree with this policy? Now, of course, there are people out there who have bought into the belief that this whole illegal immigration thing is not being done on purpose. It's organic, and the Biden administration is, of course, doing the best they can to fight against this. If you're here to this channel right now, you're trying to figure out what this agenda is and this policy, you might want to do a little research on all of the things that the Biden administration has done to make it very accessible for illegal immigrants to come here. They're not doing this because of humanitarian issues and they want these people to have a better life and all of the things they tell you. They're not doing it for that. They're doing it for nefarious reasons and purposes. That's why Trump is saying that they have an open border policy. Their policies are not designed to slow it down, to discourage these people, or to stop these people from coming. It's all designed to bring them here at any cost, which by doing that, since the cartel controls the southern border, who comes and who goes, it enriches them, and it also ties up our border patrol agents to focus on processing all of these illegal immigrants coming, and then free up the cartel to keep bringing fentanyl across. So Trump is saying he's going to address that and then declare war on the cartel. Unlike the current Homeland Security Director, Mucus I call him, but Mayorkas, he's always saying we're taking it to the cartel. We're doing everything we can, but yet the cartel is getting richer and stronger and more powerful. So Trump is saying, with my policy, we're going to address that and stop it. But let's see what Trump is going to do.
And drugs were at a low of 45 years. There's been nothing like what we did just 2 years ago.
Fact.
We will show no mercy on the cartels. Every day, drug traffickers are using the waters of our region to ship their lethal poisons to America, killing so many of our people and ruining families. In addition to restoring strong border security, I will deploy all necessary military assets, including the U.S. Navy, to impose the full naval embargo on the cartels. I did that before, and it worked. What we did was incredible. We will guarantee that the waters of the Western Hemisphere are not used to traffic illicit drugs to our country. Furthermore, I will order the Department of Defense to make appropriate use of special forces, cyber warfare, and other overt and covert actions to inflict maximum damage on cartel leadership, infrastructure, and operations. I will designate the major cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. We will sever their access to global financial systems. I will also work to forge an unprecedented partnership with neighboring governments in our region, just like I did in Mexico. And remember, in Mexico alone, an estimated 100,000 civilians have been tragically murdered or gone missing at the hands of these cartels.
So now let's stop for a second. So far, does anything he has said he would do make you think that this is rooted in some of the narratives that you've been hearing come out of the media? This man right here is addressing and identifying all of the victims of the cartel, all of the drugs that come across, even people in Mexico being a victim of the cartel. And unless you're a cartel sympathizer or you don't think what they're doing is actually bad, what Trump is suggesting that he will do is go after the cartel and hit them where it hurts, not pity patter around with them. He's talking about aggressively going after them, just as aggressive as they come across our border. So at this point, if I'm an American citizen, what he's saying would benefit American citizens. It will benefit Mexicans. This right here is a good policy. Unless you can't see objectively how this is good and you're just getting your source of news from people who are telling you this is racist. What, racist? To stop the cartel from bringing fentanyl across our border? Racist because he's making sure that illegal immigrants don't come based on the current administration who's welcoming them, who told them to come and search the border. Search the border, and then dumping them into all of these cities where minorities are being impacted. The same minorities that are upset and saying that, hey, man, these illegal immigrants are in our city taking up resources and this violence and all of this stuff. Are they racist? See, you can't buy into the propaganda. That's why we want to hear what Trump's strategic plan to address this is. Now, have you heard Biden come out and talk about what his strategy is to stop the cartel, take it to the cartel? He's giving details of how he would go after the cartel. So now you're getting an insight directly about his policy in regards to this issue.
The Mexican government, run by a very fine man, the president, is really working hard, but it's not working out. These cartels are vicious and they're violent, and they have Mexico for now stymied. Well, we have to help Mexico, and we have to stymie the cartels. Either we will get the full cooperation of other governments to stop this menace, or we will expose every bribe, every kickback, every payoff, and every bit of corruption that is allowing the cartels to preserve their brutal reign. And it is indeed brutal.
Now, think about what he's saying, this policy right here. He's saying that there's no way the cartel could be bringing all of these illegal immigrants from all over the world across our border without the help of leaders in other countries and some in our country, without their help, because you're seeing people walk through Mexico and get to our border. Now, how'd they get through Mexico? Why isn't Mexico stopping them? All of these other countries have to have people who help facilitate this on a governmental level. And if they are participating in this indirectly by taking cash bribes or whatever, Trump is saying he's going to shed and spread light on these people and expose them. Now, unless you are upset about him exposing corruption and highlighting these people who are taking bribes, which enables the cartel to be able to do this, then what is wrong with this policy? So now, is this policy rooted in some type of evil, racism? Does it not benefit us and you? If if you're a person who live in one of these border states or cities, if you're a person who's a victim of a lot of illegal immigrants being dumped into your city, now all of a sudden this makes sense. If you get a kid or a family member who's been a victim of all the fentanyl, this policy makes sense. Let's continue.
Finally, as I have said before, I will ask Congress to pass legislation ensuring that drug smugglers and human traffickers receive the death penalty. The drug cartels and their allies in the Biden administration have the blood of countless millions on their hands.
Now, some might hear, ooh, he's asking for the death penalty. Ooh, that's too extreme. Trump's doing it because of what? Is he doing it because he thinks they're Mexican or they're Latino and they deserve the death penalty? No, he's doing it because they're killing millions and millions of people. And guess what? If there isn't a severe and swift, punishment, then people will continue to do this stuff. So who is the advocate for all of the kids and young adults and people who are killed by fentanyl? All the women raped and killed during the process of getting here to the country, all the kids that are trafficked, all of that. We're not dealing with humane people in regards to the cartel. He's not talking about American citizens, even though our politicians who are encouraging this and looking the other way and allowing this to happen somehow they're also responsible for contributing to all of these deaths. But he specifically right now is talking about cartel people, drug traffickers, people like that who will kill at the drop of a hat. Now, should we sit back and say, well, nah, that's not right. We shouldn't have strict consequences and death penalties too far, when these people will chop off heads? These people will do some things that, you can't even dream up in your worst nightmare. Is that a bad policy? I think that policy will let everybody know we mean business.
Millions and millions of families and people are being destroyed. When I'm back in the White House, the drug kingpins and vicious traffickers will never sleep soundly again. We did it once, and we did it better than anybody else. There's never been a better border than we had just 2 years ago. It was strong, it was powerful, and it was respected all over the world. And now we're laughed at all over the world.
And that is so true, because we have people coming to our country from all over the world, not just from South America. These people are coming from Asia. They're coming from Africa. They're coming from Iran and all these other places. Why would they do that unless they looked at us as weak and exploiting our southern border's weakness? Under Trump, it's a fact that that stuff went down. And he's also talking about instilling the fear of God in these crooks, these criminals, the cartel. When they have to look up overhead and wonder what type of drone might be ready to drop on them, that ain't an easy feeling. Right now, they don't care. Right now, they're not worried about any response from America, because if the current administration does something to the cartel or really try to stop the cartel, they would also be stopping the cartel's system that they have in place to bring illegal immigrants across the border. So we'd rather take the illegal immigrants coming than to stop the cartel from fentanyl coming across our border. That is essentially what's happening currently. So what Trump is saying, we want them concerned every day when they get up and make the choice to try to send fentanyl over here, to traffic people across our border, all of that. We want them concerned. We don't want them operating with no fear. We want them always going, at any second, we might get blown up. That's how you start slowing down these types of criminal organizations right here. Now, I don't have a problem with these policies so far.
And we're not going to let that happen much longer. We have to take over. We have to be tough. We have to be smart. We have to be fair. But if we don't do something immediately, our country is gone.
So there you have it. You have his policy right here addressing the cartel. And now you can decide for yourself after hearing it from him. Anything in that policy sounds like what you're hearing come out of the media. I mean, he said we have to be tough, we have to be strong, but we also have to be fair. That doesn't sound like a dictator. That doesn't sound like Hitler when you listen to the media in regards to how Trump's policies are going to address the southern border, illegal immigration, and of course, the cartel. How can you disagree with this policy? So when you go in to vote, these are the things you have to think about. And because most likely people don't get a chance to actually read these policies, they just get their news from a soundbite from whatever network or whatever. They don't really know, wow, well, is this policy as bad as the people were telling me it is? Or is this actually a policy that will benefit me, benefit America? And is it rooted in evil or whatever? And the only way you can tell that is to hear it directly from the horse's mouth. And that's why I'm here for you. So there we go. That's the first one. We'll go ahead and address another policy soon. God bless you. God bless America. Thanks for watching. Take care.